Find the values of x where the curve y equals x cubed plus 2x squared plus 5x negative 6 crosses the x-axis. So we're told to find the values of x where this curve crosses the x-axis. Now, what does this statement, what does it really mean? Or what does the problem statement, what does it intend we do? Let me show you something. When you look at this curve here, now considering the curve we have here, if you look at the graph here, this is the graph of a curve. Now if you're told to find the values of x where this curve crosses the x-axis, now you'd observe that the curve crosses the x-axis at 3 points. This point, and it crosses, this is your x-axis. You can see this is x and this is your y-axis. So it crosses the x-axis at this point, and also this point. But there's something which is very salient that you need to watch out for, and that is this. Now at the point where it crosses the x-axis, which is this point here, at the point x equals 2, what is the y value? When x is 2, you'd observe that the corresponding y value is 0. This is -10, 0, 10. So this is point 0 here. So where it crosses the x-axis, y is 0. Similarly, at this point here, where this point crosses the x-axis is x equals -1. But the thing is, where it crosses the x-axis, the corresponding value of y is 0. Similarly here, at this point where it crosses the x-axis, the corresponding value is 0. So in other words, if you're told to find the values of x where the curve crosses the x-axis, it simply implies we're telling you to find the values of x where y equals 0. That's what the question tells you to do. So let me just clear this off. Though we've messed all these things up here, but we're going to clear all these things, and probably we could just leave them just for emphasis sake. Now what the question says is this. Let me just write this down. It says find. So I want to rewrite the problem now in our own way. So we want to find the values of x. Find the values of x for which y equals 0. That's what it says. Find the values of x where the curve crosses the x-axis means find the values of x where y equals 0, like we've just seen here. Now there are two ways to do this. If you want to find x for which y equals 0, now the first way is you could either solve x cubed plus 2x squared negative 5x negative 6. This is your y. So what you want to solve is, you want to solve x when y is 0. So you want to solve this. Now when you solve this, you have three values for your x. But then the thing is, when you want to solve something like this, you need to factorize this whole thing completely, and then you'd waste a lot of time. So the thing is, we need quickest means in solving this. Since we already have options here, so let's use the faster way of solving this. So I'm going to show you the second way. So second way. Now for the second way, now all the values you have here, they are the values of x. These are x values. X equals -2, -1, 3, -2, 1, -3, and so on, 2, 1, 3. So I want to choose, I do not know which of these options are going to give me 0 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test all the options. Now considering option A has -2. So for option A, the x values are -2, -1, and 3. So I'm going to test each of these x values and then see which of them is going to make my y, which is x to the power 3 plus 2x squared negative 5x negative 6. So I want to see which of them is going to make my y to be 0. So all of them must make y to be 0, or must set y to be 0. Alright, now to do that, let's begin by, so when x is let me start by testing x equals -2. So when x equals negative 2. So what's going to be my y? My y will be, so anywhere I see x, I'll replace it with negative 2. So you have negative 2 all cube plus 2 times negative 2 all to the power 2. Then negative 5 times negative 2. So times negative 2, then negative 6. So this is just going to give you negative 2 to the power 3. It's going to give you negative 8 plus 2 times negative 2 to the power 2 is going to give you 4. Then negative 5 times negative 2 is going to give you 10, negative 6. And when you add this up, you will obtain 4. So the thing is, the x value, whenever we substitute into here, they should give us the value 0, but this give us 4. So that implies that this option is not the correct answer. So that tells me that any option that has negative 2 should not be chosen or should not be taken into consideration. Now you see you have negative 2 here, so I don't need this. You have negative 2 here, so I don't need this. So what I have left is just C and D. So I'm going to test C and D and see if it's going to give me it's going to make my y to be 0. So what I have for C is 2, negative 1, negative 3, and D is 2, 1, and 3. So let's write that below. So for my C, you have 2, negative 1, and negative 3, and my D, the D option is 2, 1, and 3. These are the x values. So I want to check if they are all going to give me 0. Now what you'd observe is that C has 2 and D has 2, so you don't have to compare, you don't have to test for 2. So I'm going to check for the ones which they have differences. So this is negative 1, negative 3, this is 1, and this is 3. So I want to check for this. So let's start with x equals negative 1. Now when x is negative 1, so let me write down the formula again that we have. This is the function which you want to test for. So we want to test y equals x cubed plus 2x squared negative 5x negative 6. So each of the x values must make y to be 0, because that's when we're going to decide or conclude that at those points the graph crosses the x-axis. So when x equals negative 1, what is y? So y is just going to be, so anywhere I see x, I replace it with negative 1. So you can see here it's going to be replacements here, here, and here. So this becomes negative 1 to the power 3 plus 2 into negative 1 to the power 2, then negative 5 into negative 1, then negative 6. So this is just going to give you negative 1 to the power 3 is negative 1 plus 2, negative 1 squared, that's 1, then negative 5 times negative 1 is plus 5, negative 6. This is negative 1 plus 2 plus 5, negative 6. So 2 plus 5 is 7. Negative 1, negative 6 is negative 7. So negative 7 plus 7 is going to give you 0. So that tells me that at this point the graph crosses the x-axis. So this passes. So let me move on to negative 3. So when x equals negative 3, what's my y? So my y is going to be, so again we begin to test. So we open brackets, we have negative 3 cube plus 2 into negative 3 squared plus, sorry, this should be minus 5 into negative 3, right? Yep. Then negative 6. So we're going to test this also. So you have negative 3 cubed is going to give you negative 27 plus 2 into negative 3 squared is going to give you 9. Then negative 5 times negative 3, this is negative times negative is positive, 5 times 3, that is 15, negative 6. So this is just negative 27. 2 times 9 is 18 plus 15 minus 6. 18 plus 15 is 33. Negative 27, negative 6 is going to give you negative 33. So negative 33 plus 33 equals 0. So that tells you that x equals negative 3 also passes. So that is that. So this passes, this passes. So 2 and 2, they are common. So that tells you that the option C should be the correct answer. Now the thing is, you might begin to wonder, like, why don't I check if D is this? Anyway, we know that for this kind of a question, we need to choose just one answer. So this passes already. But then to clear all doubt, let's check D and then see if 1 and 3 are also good options. Now if we choose x equals 1, so let's substitute that into y. Let's see. So you have y equals, so you're going to have 1 to the power 3 plus 2 into 1 all squared, then negative 5 into 1, then we'll close this, then negative 6. So 1 to the power 3 is 1 plus 2 times 1 squared is 1 times 2, you have 2, negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, then negative 6. So 1 plus 2, that is 3 minus 5 minus 6. So minus 5 minus 6 is minus 11, and then this is 3, and 3 negative 11 is negative 8, and this is not equal to 0. So that even tells you that from the first one that we tested, it did not give you 0. So that tells me that this must be the only solution to the problem that we have above.